Mr. Eugene, I can share from my end. If you just let me know the slides that you are interested, and I'll share from here for you.
Okay, so let me try. If I'm not successful, then I'll ask you to do so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's clear from here. Mr. Eugene, your microphone is off.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, can you all see the document I've shared, please?
Yes, please.
All right, so we'll begin with mastering BECE questions, understanding directive verbs for effective answers. So when we say understanding directive verbs, these are verbs that are captured in questions that are asked our students, and then they find it difficult to understand what the question is about. So we've had lots of situations whereby children come out of the exam hall asking, was I supposed to expand these points? Was I supposed to just list? Was I supposed to just state? And it has become some level of, or it has brought about a certain level of misunderstanding, even sometimes between students and teachers. So we will do well to explain to you what the various questions, especially the verbs, require of students to do. So I will not waste time at all because we have quite a lot of things to do. So the BEC is a pivotal academic milestone for JHS students. Success in the exam requires, there has to be a strong subject knowledge, then effective question answering techniques. Then this guide will provide practical rubrics for answering BEC questions where we understand the question requirements, how we will structure our questions, and present our answers as clearly as possible. I'll try my best not to go very fast and also not to go very slow so that we can all move on well. So, especially in the subject RME, they usually encounter this questions that start with narrate. So that's the directive verb here. You are to narrate. Narrate the birth of Christ. Narrate the death of Christ. So these are questions all too often we come in contact with. So when a student encounters a question that they are directed to narrate, they are expected to provide a chronological account of events as a story. Provide a chronological account of events as a story. So in this case, you are starting from one point to the other. You are going step by step. And that is why it is very, very important for our students to plan their work before they begin to write. They shouldn't be in a haste to start answering the questions. They are to plan. If you are talking about the birth of Christ, you are to plan. You don't talk about his birth before you talk about, events leading to the birth itself. So narrate, you are narrating, and it has to be in a timely manner. Chronology of events. Start from somewhere and build it up. So the steps, you introduce the event or topic. So you have to devote about one paragraph to introduce what the birth of Christ and its significance is all about. Then you can start presenting events in order with clear language. We don't have to try as much as possible to impress the examiners by using words that are quite far-fetched. Yours is to be as simple as possible and let us understand where you are coming from and use the words in their right context. Then include key details, avoid unnecessary information. So go straight to the point and include key details, and make sure you are making meanings in every new paragraph you introduce. And as you are doing so, link your paragraphs. In addition to, many a times we see students writing firstly, secondly, thirdly, fourthly. Please try as much as possible to do away with that. You can begin firstly, that's fine. In addition to the above, that should be your next one. You don't write secondly, in addition to the above. Also, moreover, however, these are things we need to be writing to link our paragraphs rather than firstly, secondly, thirdly, and so on and so forth. So you include key details and avoid unnecessary information. Don't circumlocute. Circumlocution means you go round, round, round without actually hitting the nail right on the head. That's why planning is very important. So go straight to the point, because examiners do not have time to read all the gibberish, if I should put it. They want you to put down the cogent points so they can mark and move on to the next script. So it's important that you attack your question and give the answers that are expected. So associate, and this you need to go step by step. Don't mix them up. And it's also very important to begin with a title. You write the title, and then you can introduce your answers. Then the answers will be captured in the subsequent paragraphs. And if you like, you can conclude it. This is not English language. In English, when you're writing an essay and all that, conclusion is very, very, very important. In social RME and a few others, you can actually forgo the conclusion, but some of them, introduction is very, very important, especially when you are supposed to explain a concept. Define, you just attack it. It's a definition. One or two examples or instances, that's fine. But if it says what is, then it's a whole concept the examiner wants you to explain. Do not assume the examiner knows. If it's defined, you just define it. Adolescence is a period between childhood and adulthood. It's usually from this age to that age. That is definition. But when you are asked to define, to explain, or they ask you what is, you should devote about 1 or 2 paragraphs, because it's a whole concept where the definition is captured, as well as you expand or expatiate what adolescence is all about. So that's also some of the things we need to take into cognizance. When you are given the directive verb, describe, you have to focus on the features or characteristics or processes. Your focus is on the features, characteristics, or processes. So with the steps, you use vivid and descriptive language. You are describing something. Describe it as though the person doesn't know whatever you are describing. So the use of some adjectives are very, very important here. Then you organize logically. Organize your thoughts logically. Whenever you are making sense, it should begin or it should be in a paragraph form. Do not put everything together. You don't have to leave lines in between, yet make sure the paragraphs have been distinguished enough for people to know now you are making sense here, you are making sense in the subsequent paragraphs. It is very, very important. It's an essay question, so you don't have to write them and be leaving lines in between. It's a whole paragraph. Then you organize logically, like I mentioned, then you focus on the sensory or the physical attributes. Remember, you are describing, so you focus on the sensory or the physical attributes. Example, describe the process of photosynthesis. And this can come in the science subject, for instance, or questions that are demanded in science. You could be asked to describe the process of photosynthesis. Then you can be asked to discuss, discussion here doesn't mean all students in the exam hall must start talking to each other. We've had a few instances where the students are asking, if we are asked to discuss, does it mean we can go ahead and talk about it? Not at all. Here you are providing a balanced examination with arguments and analysis. You are providing a balanced examination with arguments and analysis. Balance could be for and then against. Then sometimes you pick your viewpoint. So steps, you define and then you introduce the topic. So understanding the concept of that question is very, very important. Define it and introduce the topic. You use paragraphs for each point. Then you conclude with your opinion. Example, discuss the importance of tolerance in promoting peace. So you can speak for or against, and then you choose your opinion and you let us know why you feel you are for the motion. This is not an essay writing, but yes, you are giving reasons why. So when it's about discuss, you are not describing it. You are talking about a situation where you can write the for and against. Then later on, you let them know where you stand. So that's one thing you need to consider when the question says you are to discuss. For explain, the meaning is you have to clarify by focusing on the why and how. You focus on the why and how. I'll try and share the slides with you. So whenever you encounter a question that says explain, these are the major things you need to concentrate on: why and how. So for the steps, again, you need to define or explain the concept. That is why before you begin each topic, make sure the students do understand the concept. They've understood what you're teaching them. Let them understand what the whole topic is about. Because if they have no idea what the concept is about, it becomes very, very difficult to have a standpoint or a viewpoint. So always make sure that they have an idea of what they are going to write about. Then they must provide reasons or justifications. Use examples or diagrams if needed. So an example is explain why plants are called producers in the ecosystem, or explain the formation of orographic rainfall. This you have to talk about, you have to define rainfall, you have to talk about the different types of or examples of rainfall. There are three types: cyclonic, you can talk of relief, and convectional rainfall. Then if it is a particular rainfall they're asking you to describe, you describe it and give a perfect illustration with a diagram. And it's very, very important you give examples where needed. So if it is state, name, or mention, state, name, or mention, especially when it is state, they are asking you to write in a statement form, short sentences. And this you can leave lines in between. You are not writing them in essays, unless the corresponding marks request that you write more. So in social studies, for instance, even if they've written state and the corresponding marks are about 12 or 16 marks, then of course you cannot just write a simple statement and hope that you'll be given about 4 or 5 marks for that very one. So apart from the fact that you are seeing these directive verbs, also look at the corresponding marks. The marks are there to guide you as to the level or the quantum of work that is expected of you. So don't be misled by the verbs over there. It could just be state. But if you look at the corresponding marks and they are talking about 8 or 10 marks or higher, then you need to put some more flesh into whatever point you are giving. So meaning, you provide brief answers without details. So if it is state, name, and mention, you provide brief answers without details. Even if it's name the 4 cardinal points: I, north; I, east; I, west; I, view, south. That's it. It could be list, it could be name. But for mention or state, you just write them in simple sentences and make sure you have numbered them properly. Write only the required information. It's not an essay you are building on. Write only the required information. Example, state 3 factors that influence population growth. State 3 factors that influence population growth. Number 1, migration is one factor that influences population growth. That's it. Number 1, migration is one factor that influences population growth. Then you move to the second one. Then you can mention death rate or birth rate is another factor that can influence population growth. Then you move to the next one. Then that's all. You are done with the 3 factors. So name, state, mention is the same. List is it's similar to name. List is similar to name. You provide a numbered or bulleted sequence. Provide a numbered or bulleted sequence. Then you arrange the points in order. List the 8 planets in the solar system. You have to go in a particular order. Don't go and start from Uranus. Don't go and start from Saturn. Don't go and start from Neptune. You start from Mercury in that order. So when you are asked to list, you are going step by step and you are going or arranging it in the right order. Avoid explanations unless specified. So you could be asked, list and explain. List and explain. So then you can write I, Mercury, then you bring a colon. The colon is what you see after the steps. So after the steps, you see 2 dots, one at the top and then the other down. Then you can explain if it is list and explain. But if you have been asked to list, you just arrange your points in order. I this, I that. Then you move on. Avoid explanations unless specified. Then example, list 4 input devices of a computer. List 4 input devices of a computer. You can talk about microphone. You can talk about the keyboard and so on and so forth. All right. For highlights, and it usually goes with outline. Highlight, meaning here is that you are to identify and emphasize the key points. You are to build your point, but you are not going to be as elaborate as going to discuss, explain, or expatiate. This, you are just picking the cogent points or cogent sentences out. So normally when you are explaining, we have the topic sentence. Your topic sentence is your main idea. Then we have the supporting sentences, and they will add flesh to your topic sentence. So highlight, you can just pick your first point, which is the topic sentence, then about 1 or 2 sentences to throw more light on that and give an example where appropriate, or you can create an instance where appropriate, and you are done with highlight. Highlight, you are going with the abstract. You are going with what is important, the focal point. So the focus is on the main point. You can use bullets for clarity if allowed. It depends. It depends on how the question has been set. Some will be required that you write in short and simple paragraphs. Some will be required that you bullet them, but it should be more than a sentence because you are not stating and you are not mentioning. You are highlighting. Just give me about 2-3 sentences that would give an answer to a question. That's all they are looking for with the highlight. Example, highlight 3 advantages of education. Highlight 3 advantages of education. So each point you pick, that becomes your topic sentence. Then you support it with about 2 supporting sentences, and that's it. If there's an example, you add it and you are done. Outline, I told you it's quite similar to the highlights. You provide the main points or your framework. Then for the steps, keep responses concise and structured. Go straight to the point as much as possible. Do not go beyond 3 sentences. Example, outline the causes of World War II. Outline the causes of World War II. Structure your answers in such a way that it is easy to read and it's easy to understand or identify that this belongs to this point, that belongs to that point. Do not jump everything up. It's very, very important that you make your presentation as legible as possible. All right. Elaborate. Elaborate meaning you provide detailed explanations with examples. Provide detailed explanations with examples. It has to be very detailed and examples. Where you cannot get an example, you can create or set up a scenario, or you can even talk about a short case study, something that is happening. You can use it as an example to buttress your point. So there has to be a brief introduction. There has to be a brief introduction where you talk about the subject or the concept briefly. Just 3 sentences or 2 sentences will be okay. Then you can now give your detailed explanation and examples where every paragraph would throw more light on a point. Example, elaborate on 3 benefits of honesty. And this is a typical example of an RME question. Then expatiate, meaning you explain with greater detail and context. Greater detail and context. So this is more like the opposite of highlight and outline. This, you go further, even beyond discuss or explain. You go beyond. Expatiate means that you are laying more emphasis on the whole, details and context. You expand on points with depth and examples. You go to the extent of explaining things to the barest minimum for the examiner to understand. Of course, for each point, a paragraph will do, and I'm talking about a paragraph that contains about 4 or 5 sentences. That should be okay. So example, expatiate on the importance of family in moral upbringing. Expatiate on the importance of family in moral upbringing. Compare. So with compare, you identify similarities and differences. When you're asked to compare, you're identifying similarities and then differences. So for the steps, define items being compared. You can use a table, especially in social studies and science. It is expected of you, in most cases, to put it in a tabular form or tabulate it, where it becomes very, very, very simple. Use a table or you separate your paragraphs for points. You can separate your paragraphs for points. But in most cases, you are expected to put it in a tabular form. So please, let's be conscious of this, especially for social studies and integrated science, like I mentioned earlier. Example, compare renewable energy and non-renewable energy sources. You can write or draw draw your table, left side renewable, at the other side non-renewable, and then you can compare. And it becomes easy for the examiner to mark them alongside each other. So your general tips: understand the question, identify what is being asked, follow instructions where you stick to word limits and format. Don't go beyond. If it's far-fetched, you end up distorting whatever you started. Be concise as much as possible. Be concise means that hit the nail right on the head. Avoid unnecessary details. Because the more you are doing that, the more you are committing yourself, the more you are making mistakes, and it will go against you. Then you use examples, support answers with relevant examples. That's what most of our students fail to do. Give examples where needed, or you can create a short scenario as your example. Then for time management, allocate time wisely for all questions. So that will bring us to the end of the first session. Mr. Techi, if you have a few words, please take over.
Wow, excellent work done. In fact, my notepad here is full. My notepad here is full. I'm still putting down the summaries at the end of the whole discussion to share my bigger thoughts. So maybe if we can move on to the next stage so that we can finish as early as possible.
All right. So then we'll talk about the effective ways of learning for BECE final year students. Okay, so let me share the slide with you.
Come again?
Can you hear me, please?
Yes. Do you want me to share something from my end?
No, I'll just share it right away. Just give
okay.
me 30 seconds. Can you see the screen, please?
Yes.
All right, so we are talking about effective ways of learning for our BECE final year students, and teachers or educators here can share with their students, and our students that have joined us, please pick a few things from this slide because it's really, really going to help. My students have adopted it and it's really, really helping. So effective ways of learning for BECE final year students. Introduction, so why effective learning matters. So BECE is a critical exam that determines future academic opportunities. Effective learning strategies improve retention. So if you're adopting the right learning strategies, it means you are going to improve retention. Retention means your ability to sort of trap whatever you are learning, okay, so you don't end up forgetting it. So you'll be able to retain whatever you are learning, then you would have a better understanding and it will lead to a high performance. So learning smart is better than learning hard. So let's explore the best study. All right, so active learning strategies. So these are some of the things you can do for a high retention rate. If you read something or your teacher teaches something and within an hour or two, you've forgotten half of it, you are human, it's only normal. Yours is to adopt the right strategies to be able to what? Retain whatever you've been taught to a certain higher level of degree, so you'll be able to remember and then recollect it and write your exam and pass. So these are some of the things you can do for a high retention. Number one, teaching others. When you're able to teach others whatever you have learned, you have a 90% retention rate. So whatever you have been taught or whatever you've ended up learning, if you are to gather people to teach them, you have a 90% retention rate, and this is by far the highest. So if you want to really recollect whatever you have learned, engage in group study, take center stage and explain things to your friends. Teach them. By doing so, you'll be able to recollect whatever you've learned by 90%. You stand a 90% chance of retaining whatever you've learned. So explain concepts to friends or family. It doesn't matter. It could be your younger sister or younger brother. Gather them around. You can give them the books. They should follow whatever you are teaching. You can make mistakes. Let them correct you. Sometimes gather your parents. They are there to assist. Give them the book and attempt to teach them. Where you make mistakes, they will correct you. It's even easier with your friends. Gather them. Whatever you learned, teach them. And as you are doing so, you have a 90% rate of retention. Then you also need to learn to practice past questions. In practicing past questions, you have a 75 to 80% chance of retaining whatever you've learned. Practice past questions, solve past questions, BECE questions, and improve familiarity and time management. So the more you are answering questions from past BECE papers, the more you're familiarizing yourself with the questions that will be administered to you when it's your time to write the BECE. Don't be scared of the past questions. Embrace them. Attempt to answer them. Compare them. If the answers are not there, give them to your teachers to mark. You are a final year student. There is no way a teacher will prevent you from giving the work that you've done to them to mark for you. So practice them. It's very, very important. When you keep on doing so in that particular subject, you have a 75 to 80% retention rate. Then write summaries. This is something I've realized most of our students are not doing, the Gen Zs. So if our students are listening to me, this is what the millennials used to do that really helped. I remember when we were growing up, there were lots of Formica boards, small boards. You had your pencil and your soapy water that, you try to recollect or summarize whatever you've read, on that Formica board. When you are done, you rub it off. Now in traffic, I see far advanced boards that you can write on, and with just a push of a button, it erases everything, and you can use it for your next session. Even in the absence of all these things, get a jotter. Whatever concept you've been able to learn, whatever subtopic you've been able to learn, give yourself some time to try to recollect by writing it. Again, just try to recollect. Even if you are writing in your own words and understanding, just try to do it. Write summaries and notes on whatever you've learned, and that could give you a 60% chance of retention. So you can use colors. You can use highlighters. It could come in different colors. Sometimes it gives you, whenever you are revising, if hitherto you highlighted some points, anytime you pick that book, you know these are concepts, these are definitions. The moment the highlights are there, you pay much more attention to it. And it gives you a certain level of seriousness when you are capturing those things in memory. Then you can use mind maps. A lot of people do not know mind maps. So mind map is what you can see in the picture to the right side of your screen. Mind map means that you are trying to symbolize things you've learned in a very simple form. So let me give a typical example. So for instance, if you want to talk about changes in the adolescent boy, so you can just write a big circle in the middle, write adolescent boy in that circle. You can write an arrow to the right. Then you can start writing up some of the changes. Break of voice, another arrow by the side. Then you can talk about growth of pubic hair. Then you can draw another arrow beside it and write again some of the physical changes. It could be growth of development of acne, enlargement of the reproductive organ. When you do that, you are building what we call a mind map. It summarizes everything. So anytime you pick that diagram or the map and you look at it, it's able to easily let you know the linkages to whatever concept you want to talk about. You can just write cardinal point. Then you can give the various branches. It could be just river. In the middle, just write a circle. Then you write parts of a river. You give an extension somewhere. You can talk about confluent. You can talk about tributary. You can talk about source, and so on and so forth. So anytime you pick it, you have an idea. It simplifies it. I know some of you have seen this in textbooks, and I know some of you have ever tried it. So that thing you see there is an empathy map where it starts building the branches. Think and feel, say and do, hear, gain, see, pain, and so on. Then you can further break them into different branches. As you are building that thing, we call it a mind map. And it can really help you with a 60% retention rate. And key points to summarize. Always make sure that you are writing key points and then you use that to summarize whatever you've learned. Then flashcards and mnemonics. Flashcards and mnemonics. So for flashcards, it will help you memorize formulas, especially for our math students and our chemical equation and whatever our students have been learning. A flashcard will let you, some of them you can, there are lots of them for the various vocabularies in Ghanaian language, for instance. Make good use of them. As you go over, as you learn them, it gives you a better retentive memory. Then the key terms, always make sure that all the key terms, you are writing them somewhere or you are, highlighting them, and it will really, really help you to memorize it. Mr. Techi, please, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, good. For the mnemonics, we are talking about what we call acronyms. We are talking about acronyms. And when we say acronyms, I think when we were growing up, we used to talk about my very eyes may just see under 9 planets. Now we can't use my very eye may just see under 9 planets because Pluto has been taken out as a planet. But now people have brought about other ways. My very dependable mother just served us noodles. These are ways that can help you to be able to identify the various planets in a sequential order. It's very, very important. For instance, if you want to remember the 5 daily prayers in Islam, for instance, you can just write F, then Zami, F Zami, F-Z-A-M-I, F Zami. That is what you call a mnemonic. or we call it an acronym. It can help you where you know that F stands for Fajr, Z stands for Zuhur, A stands for Asr, M stands for Maghrib, I stands for Isha. I know some of you are also doing a similar thing. So the acronym, when you simplify things, when you use alphabets to replace some very elongated or elaborate concepts, that is what we call mnemonics. Develop the habit. Some even create a song out of it. That's also not bad. All these things can help us have a retention. So the mind mapping and visual learning can all give a 50% retentive rate. So we've talked about the high retention rate, which are the active learning strategies. Then we also have the passive learning strategies, but they are less effective, meaning you can still adopt these ones, but they are not as effective as the active learning strategies we spoke about earlier. So the first one has to do with reading alone. When you are reading alone, you only have 10 to 20% retention rate. So low retention rate unless you are actively summarizing. I remember summary writing can be found at the active learning strategy slide. So it means that if you are reading alone and you think, oh, I've read about 5 topics, so I'm okay, your retention rate is only 10 to 20. And you are going to have a low retention rate within 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, about 80% or 90% of them is gone. So try as much as possible to infuse it with some of the active learning strategies. Low retention unless you are actively summarizing it. So reading alone does not guarantee that you're going to pass. Then you listening to lectures. So in the classroom, when the teacher is teaching you, you are listening to lectures. And believe you me, there are a lot of times parents are accusing teachers, you've been teaching in the class. My son is finding it difficult to obtain high grades in your class. Why? Are the teachers no now? Please explain to your parents that in a lesson, when a teacher comes to teach you, your absorption rate or the rate of retention is only 5 to 10%. Unless you are taking notes, and I understand some of you would always pay much more attention to the notes that you tend to lose some very important things your teachers are talking about. So in many cases, teachers would want you to be attentive and listen to them teaching you. So that period of learning or lesson, what you are taking home is just 5 to 10%. Unless that child is very gifted and is more of an auditory learner, where they are good at hearing, that child can increase this chance to about 20, 30, to the extreme 40%. But if you're a normal student like myself or any normal student, the retention rate is only 5 to 10%. So let us stop accusing the heads here. Let us stop accusing our teachers wrongly. You've been teaching, you go and stand in the class. What at all are you teaching them? If the children are not adopting the right strategies, the rate of retention is going to be low, and this you cannot blame the teachers so much. Yes, I understand teachers have their own limitations, but by and large, if you are just listening to a teacher teaching, standing in front of you, the absorption rate is just 5 to 10%. Cramming before exam, that's what most of our students do. We wait, we procrastinate. Oh, oh, after all, the mock is not anywhere close. I still have about 3 hours. I still have about 5 hours. Before you realize you are trying to push everything into your brain at such a short space of time. I see a lot of students, all books and bags away. That is when you see them at the doorway trying to force everything into their brain before they go and sit in front of that paper. At that period, you are just disturbing your brain. Just sit down there and start recollecting or meditating, because you can actually have a blackout. If you're trying to cram everything into you waited, right? You deferred your studies. And now that it's getting close for you to go and write the exam, you're trying to force everything into your brain. You sit in front of the paper, and I'm telling you, you forget how to write the THE, because the mind or the brain is already tired and it's at an overdrive. So learn ahead of time, prepare. So 10 minutes, 5 minutes to the time, you have folded your arms, sitting on your chair, and you are just reflecting on what you're going to write. Not when they start mentioning 5 minutes to start work or 10 minutes to start work, all books and bags away, then we see you flipping through pages, trying to force things into your mind. Please, our students here, I'm appealing to you. Learn, make good use of this time. You still have a month or two to write your exam. Do so, start learning them. Don't wait till the time is getting close. You'll be hurting yourself and you'll be deceiving yourself. Short-term memory storage information is forgotten quickly. So start ahead of time. Start ahead of time, even as you are reading, if you are not understanding it, because I know some people work under pressure. You start understanding concepts when the time is getting closer. Yes, that's how it makes us believe. But when you start earlier, I am telling you, a time will come, the papers will come, and you start recollecting them, and it will be playing in front of you like a movie. So please, if you are forcing things into your brain before the time, the absorption or retention rate is just 30%. So study techniques for our BECE success. Use the Pomodoro technique. You study for 25 to 50 minutes, and you take about 5 to 10 minutes break. It's very, very important, whereby in this case, you allow some oxygen to move back into your brain. So at most, at a certain 25 to 50 minutes, sit down to learn, then you can take a break of about 5 minutes to 10. In taking that break, don't keep on sitting down. Just get up, walk around for a while. You can go out for fresh air and come back and sit down and allow some oxygen to move back into your brain. It is very, very important. Even as you are studying, you could still be pacing up and down. And this is very good for the tactile learners, those that find it difficult to sit at one place. Just be pacing around with your book in your palm and learning. Once in a while, it can also help. But every 25 to 50 minutes, depending on your ability, it could be 25, it could be 30, it could be 45, it could be 40. By 50 minutes, it's not advisable to sit for an hour without taking a break. At most 50 minutes, take about 5 to 10 minutes break. It will really help you. Then spaced repetition. And this should be able to give you 50 to 80% retention rate. Review information at increasing intervals. Review information at increasing intervals. So it could come in different ways. Sometimes don't force it. You can start from 10 minutes, 20 minutes at a sitting. If you are not used to that, then you increase it to 30, 40, 50, thereabouts. Then also, you can always review information at increasing intervals. Sometimes you begin from somewhere. There are times you can start learning the most challenging topics. Then you can move on. Other times you can start from the ones you can easily understand and start building up momentum. That is very important. So know yourself and find out if ascending order will help or descending order will help in terms of what? The difficulties. Active recall. This will give you 70 to 90%. Test yourself instead of rereading. Test yourself. There are times you could read and read and read, and you've actually even forgotten what you are reading. But test yourself. Set yourself questions and attempt to answer it rather than you keep on reading over and over. By the time you read once, twice, thrice, that's fine. But test yourself. Give yourself questions. Some of the textbooks too, there are tests behind them, or there are tests behind certain topics. Test yourself. It will really help you. Now, most of you have access to the various AIs. I do so to help my children. When they bring their textbooks, I give them a reading assignment. Read from here to here. Right after that, I take shots of it. Then I ask any of the AIs, set 10 questions, 15 questions from the picture I have shared. And you'll be able to use that to test yourself. So use the gadgets or devices you have wisely. Then group study will give you 60 to 80% retention rate. It helps clarify doubts and boosts motivation. It is very, very, very important learning amongst your co-equals. There are times a teacher might teach you with elaborate words or far-fetched words, so you might not understand better. Sometimes your students or your friends or your colleagues can better explain to you because they are going to use similar words you are used to. Sometimes they can even use your own Gen Z words to explain to your understanding, and it can give you a better understanding rather than a teacher doing so. So I'm not saying that what the teacher will teach isn't there. Of course, the teacher will give you a better understanding and concept. But if you didn't get it properly, after going to the teacher and you still don't get it, ask some of your friends in a group to explain things better for clarity's sake. And it can also help you so much. Exam simulation, and that's what we talked about. Practicing past questions. 75 to 85, practice full-length past papers under timed conditions. You can let your parents time you. If the objectives is 40 minutes, make sure you've timed yourself. Within 40 minutes, you're going to use it, or 45 minutes, you're going to use it to answer 40 minutes. If the essay questions demands 1 hour, time yourself, simulate it. Like put yourself in that examination environment. And that's how the body works. You will adjust to it and you will not be beaten by time in the examination. Then teach what you learn. Explain concepts to someone else. So that's what we spoke about. Learn to teach your friends. It is very, very important. Don't be selfish and say, I'm keeping the knowledge to myself. As you are teaching your friends, they are not going to get better than you. You are rather going to consolidate whatever you've been able to learn. Then it helps reinforce your own understanding. And this is the 90% retention rate. It's the highest so far that I mentioned to you. Then allocate specific times for each subject. Stop tackling subjects you're already very conversant with. The subjects that come very easy to you, that's what you see most of the students always learning or reading. Please tackle your challenging subjects as well. Tackle challenging subjects when your energy levels are highest. If it is mathematics that you do not like or you despise, tackle it first when your energy is highest. Then the ones that come very easy with, for you, you tackle them at the latter stage when you've exerted so much effort into the challenging subjects. So please keep this in mind. By now, you should know the subjects that you struggle to understand. Work on them anytime you start studying. Or what I've advised my students to do. Now the new timetable is out. You know, on Monday, you're going to write social studies and computing. That's how your timetable should be set up. I'm talking about your personal timetable now. So that on a Monday evening after school, remember you are allocating maybe 1 hour, 30 minutes to social studies, then the other 1 hour, 30 minutes to computing. And that can help you in that order so that you are paying attention to all subjects equally. Avoid procrastination. Set small achievable goals to stay motivated. Small achievable goals. Don't be overly ambitious now. Start from somewhere. Take your time. But most importantly, avoid procrastination. Every day, one topic at a time will help you. Even if you can do with half of the quantum of the topic at every sitting, that will help. Slow motion is better than no motion. So start earlier, and that is going to help you. As we are talking about all these things, what are we doing for our body to be able to assimilate all these changes or all this stress we are putting in the body? In these modern times, our students are not sleeping early. They are not having enough sleep. And that's a recipe for disaster. Please make sure you are having 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. And this will help boost your memory and concentration. Some of you, you've observed the brain is tired. You read and read and read, and you've forgotten what you just read. It's a problem. Why? You are not getting enough sleep. Sleep early. Time management at this stage is very, very important. You should have at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and this will give you the opportunity to rest your brain in anticipation of what is ahead of you. Then eat brain boosting foods. Please do away with the junk food around this time, especially the, how do they call it? The noodles. What name do they? Indomie and the rest. At this time, please do away with them. Eat brain boosting foods, fruits, are very important at this stage. Nuts are very important at this stage. Fish and whole grains, the wheat and so on and so forth, the Tom Brown and so on. Embrace them from this time. Even the normal cocoa around this time will really, really help you. And exercise regularly. This will improve your focus and will help reduce stress. It is very, very important. When you exercise and you go to sleep, your level of sleep is top notch. You'll be able to have a sound sleep. So at this stage, exercise, because that will give you a sound mind and a sound body. Then stay hydrated. There are most times we are weak. We don't know why. It is because we don't have enough water circulating our brain and our body. So stay hydrated. Drink lots of water at this stage, and it will help the brain to function properly. So that's the summary here. When you are teaching others, you have a 90% retention rate. When you practice it and you solve the problems, you have 75 to 80% retention rate. When you're writing or summarizing whatever you are reading, you have a 60% retention rate. Your flashcards and your mnemonics, right? You have a 50 to 60%. Your visual learning, diagrams, and so on and so forth. You remember we talked about the mind maps. There is a 50% retention rate. Reading aloud, 30 to 40. Make sure as you are reading aloud, you are also summarizing it. Then rereading only will give you 10 to 20%. You are listening to lectures, will give you just 5 to 10%. And that will bring our final advice, start preparing early, at least 3 to 4 months.
Mr. Eugene.
Have less than. Yes, sir.
Please, can you go back? Some teachers are taking screenshots of the table. Just a minute, then.
Okay.
It's probably in 10 seconds.
All right.
Okay. Please, if you want to take a screenshot of this, please do that.
Okay, so I believe we are done here.
Yes, thank you. Please move on.
Most welcome. So my final advice for our BECE students before we move on to the Stanine is you start preparing early. It's better late than never. You can start even today. Combine different study techniques for better results. We've just spoken about the passive and the active techniques. Combine them, it will help you. Practice past papers and get used to answering BECE style questions. Don't be picky. At random, just pick the questions. From here, Satechi, I'll share a link with you. I've been able to compile lots of mock questions from different consortiums and schools that my students can pick any question at all, and some with marking scheme. And I remember you also sent some of the questions. I keep on adding them. I've created a whole Google Drive for it, where our students here can always have access to questions over all the 10 subjects that they'll be writing on. Randomly pick them. Don't just scan through and say, oh, I'll be okay with these past questions, so let me attempt it. Pick them at random. No matter how difficult it is or how far-fetched, try and answer to your best of ability. And when you are done, go over it and identify the answers to those questions. Past questions at this stage is very, very important. Then take care of your mental and physical health. You sleep, have a good diet, and then be embracing breaks as you are reading. The breaks are also very important. Set daily or weekly study goals and track your progress. You set your daily, weekly, and study goals and track your progress. Just understand, okay, so I'm getting, maybe after going through my mock results, maybe mock 2 results, I realized creative arts was very challenging. I didn't do very well. Okay, now my target for this week is to perform better or understand those concepts I couldn't write on in creative arts or this and that, and track your progress. That would help you. So in conclusion, understanding will beat memorization. So it's very important to understand than you memorizing it. You chew, you pass, and then you forget. You study smart, and that's by mixing the passive with that of the active. Then you stay disciplined, sleep, and have that 7 to 8 hours of good sleep, eat well, exercise, and then take breaks and have belief in yourself. Believe in yourself that you're going to do it, and I'm wishing you all success in your BECE exams. That actually that brings me to the end of this presentation. Thank you.
Wow. This is deep. In fact, this level of information you are providing is too expensive for us to afford. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. However, I know we still have to hold you back for the last session. And we have about 75 participants and still holding. We still have schools that are currently streaming at their school end. And I think, let me say this, we have a school joining us from Upper West known as Divine Army Academy. Thank you, proprietor, for joining us all the way from Upper West. All right, thank you so much. I have some big takeaways, but as I said, I'll still hold on till you finish with your last session. If you can share your screen so that you take us through the Stanine system. It's quite debatable.
Okay.
Everyone is talking about it. So tell us the new developments that school leaders here must take action on that.
All right, thank you very much. Just give me a minute to share that one with you.
Yes, question time will definitely happen after the Stanine system. So gather all your questions when it's time. And I think the Stanine, this last session wouldn't take much, so prepare your questions.
Yeah, this last session we didn't take
yes.
much. So
okay, we have Service Basic School from Kumasi. They're also joining us here with their teachers. So Service Basic School, thank you so much for joining us this evening. All right, Mr. Eugene, please carry on.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. We keep on hearing of the Stanine system, and it's a confusion all over. And it hurts me to know that lots of schools have started recording very low BECE grades, and parents are blaming them. Your school used to do so well a few years back. What is happening to you? And due to lack of information, schools are not able to defend themselves and are not able to inform what is actually happening. And then they assume that the teachers are not working. And it really hurts me. But this is the problem with the Stanine system, and I'm going to throw much more light on this for us to understand. And by extension, our BECE candidates will know that what is ahead is even higher than we came to meet. And that's why they need to learn and study even harder. And that is what brought about the Stanine system. A lot of people will be asking questions. Why are we saying the Stanine, the new Stanine system and new Stanine? Stanine system has always been in place. That is true. But there is a difference in terms of what we are experiencing currently. The Stanine means Standard 9 grading system. So since 1990, our grading system has been from 1 to grade 9, grade 1 to 9. That is Stanine, Standard 9 grading system. So it's a statistical method of grading that transforms your raw scores into a 9-point scale. 9-point scale. It was designed to provide a normalized distribution of student performance. So this was created during World War II by the US Air Force, when there were a lot of people applying to get into the force. So they had to bring on board this type of grading system to be able to sieve the high number of intakes or the high number of people. So by this, you should understand why it's been adopted here. We have thousands of students scrambling for the few grade A schools in Ghana. And so the Stanine system has to be enforced to check, right, the admissions of these high number of students into the small number of good schools in the country. So it was intended to simplify test scoring and make the interpretation of standardized test results more efficient and comparable across large populations. So that's what I just explained. to simplify test scoring and make the interpretation of standardized test results more efficient and comparable across large populations. The Stanine grading system now employed by WIAC for the BECE is a norm-referenced system. This is where the digression comes in. So before the year 2022, we were using the Stanine, WIAC was using the Stanine, but they were using the percentage-based system. Percentage-based system. So with the percentage-based system, no matter the number of students in a particular subject, that would get maybe 85 or 90 or sometimes 80 to 100, those students will be given a 1, no matter the number of students. So if I pick social studies, if for social, sorry, I've been a social studies all my life, so I'm a bit biased when it comes to that subject. So
I know,
when it
right?
comes to...
I can feel it here.
Yeah, so what happens is that if the one is pegged at, let's say, 90 to 100 for social studies, every child that gets 90 and above will be given a 1. That is the percentage-based Stanine system. Sometimes, depending on how difficult that very subject is, it is reduced to maybe 80 to 100. And that's how most of our grading system is for the mock exams and so on and so forth. That was the percentage. They didn't care how many people will get the 80. If the child has gotten 80 to 81, 83, 84, up to 100, that child is given a 1. Then they changed it since 2022 to the norm-referenced. Now it's not about you getting your 90 to your 100. It's about using what we call a bell curve, and I'll explain that to you. So I said it's no more the percentage-based, it's the norm-reference system. We'll explain. It is designed to provide a consistent way of grading students by distributing their performance across a fixed range of categories. It's a fixed rate. So it's like a virtual or predetermined grading. Yours is to just go and justify your inclusion to enter that percentage bracket. Don't get confused. Formerly, we said if you get 90 to 100 or 80 to 100, you are being given a 1. Now we can peg it and say that we are looking at students that will be able to get maybe 95 to 100. These are the people we are going to give a 1. The rest of you, or all the students, go and write the exam and justify your inclusion within 95 to 100. So that is how things are going on. The structure of the results is predetermined virtually from 1 to 9. The student is to justify his or her inclusion to enter a certain percentage bracket. You are not going to fight for 80 to 100 and say, once I've gotten 80, I am getting my 1. That is not how it works now. Let me use this to explain further and you understand. It's predetermined. Remember I mentioned the Stanine was used by the US Air Force. In the US, the opposite is the case. The red here, under the 4% here, tells you that's the failure point. If you are getting 1, it means you are failed. That's how the US grading system is. So the 9 is rather the highest, but ours is the opposite. If you get 1, you've gotten the highest. If you get 9, it is the least or the worst. So it's just the same, but let's just go with what we know. Now it is predetermined. So this stands for every single subject, all the 10 subjects. Some of you are going to write 8 subjects. Some of you are going to write 9 subjects. In every subject, they are going to use this to determine where you fall at. We call it the bell curve because it looks like a bell. The bell curve, it looks like a bell. Now let's pick grade 1 here by the left-hand side. The next one is grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. So grade 5 now is actually your average score. If you are getting a grade 5 in a particular subject, that's your average score. And what makes it even dangerous is the fact that being an average student itself is not bad. But if you are getting an average for all your subjects, When you multiply your grade 5 by 6 subjects, you're going to get about 30. That is going to give you aggregate 30. So even if you are an average student and you're going to get grade 5 in all the subjects, chances are you're going to get aggregate 30. And that becomes very difficult for you to get a very good school. All right. So of all the people that are going to write the subjects or the exam, they can only take the first 4% of that total number, and they will be given a 1. So that is the virtually determined grade. So they will start adding your marks. So they will start with obviously the one that will get the 100 over 100, the 99.9 people, the 99.7, they will keep on adding up. By the time they get to 4% of the population that wrote under that particular subject, they will be given the 1. So in an instance whereby by the time they got to 96%, they've gotten the 4% of that population that sat for that subject, the 1 has been shut. Automatically, if you got 95.9, you are moving to grade 2. And that will be determined by the next 7% of the total population. So the next two, those that will be given grade 2 will be the next 7% of the entire population that wrote the BECE. Then those that will be given a 3 in a particular subject will be the next 12%. If you are getting a 4, that will be the next 17%. If you are getting a 5, the next 20%. Then it will start dropping. If you are getting a 6, then you are part of the next 17%, then 12, then 7, then the last 4% will be given a 9. The last 4% will be given a 9. The next best 7 after the 4% will be given an 8. So it goes in that order. We'll go further to explain for you to understand better, and you can ask questions later on for a deeper understanding. So that is what we mean by virtually fixed grades, and you have to justify your inclusion. Let's use some characteristics. By the time we are done with this, I'm sure you might understand better. So we know that it is using a 9-point scale ranging from 1, which is the highest, to 9, which is the lowest. I mentioned in the United States, the opposite is the case. So just look at it. 1 is the highest, 9 is the lowest. Okay. Scores are based on a normal distribution curve, which is called the bell curve, and concentrates most students near the middle score. Now look at it this way. So even before you write the exam, before you write the BECE, here, the highest percentage are going to fall within grades 4 and 6, because that's where the bell rises. So the highest percentage of all of you going to write the exam, no matter how best you perform, the highest percentage are going to be forced into 4, 5, and 6. All right, let's move on. It allows comparison of student performance across various tests and populations. Let's move on. So why Stanine? With the Stanine, it minimizes emphasis on minor score differences, providing a clearer understanding of broad performance levels. It will minimize the emphasis on the minor score differences, which will then provide a clearer understanding of the broad performance of the various people. So broadly, these people fell within grade 1, these people fell within grade 2, grade 3, in that order. Because you will agree with me, at first the grading system wasn't the best. Someone could get, and that's how we used to think that some people were very, very good previously during our time. You see someone getting 12 ones. During my time, we're doing about 12 subjects. Someone will get 12 ones. Someone can, at a point, it was 10. So someone will actually get 10 ones. And the person would be considered a very good student. Meanwhile, that person was in his 80s by getting the 1. Remember, we mentioned that at that time, from 80 to 100 could get you a 1. So maybe the person was always in her lower 80s, 80, 81, 82 for all the various subjects, and the person ended up getting 10 ones. Someone wouldn't get 10 ones, but the person, anytime he had a 1, was getting 98, 95, 97, and the rest. So you realize that someone got 10 ones, but when you pick a raw score of his core subjects and two other performing elective subjects, the person's raw score might be lower than someone that didn't get the 10 ones, because that person was actually getting higher scores. And so the Stanine has come to correct some of these things. It also aims to provide a simplified view of a student's performance relative to peers, making it a popular choice for standardized tests globally. So it has simplified the view of students' performance as you relate to the person's friends or peers, and it has now become a very popular choice. So it does not mean your students are underperforming. It means that they are now being boxed in a certain interval, and that is making them appear. Naturally, some are not doing well. Some schools are not doing well. That is there. That we cannot deny the fact. But I'm talking about schools that hitherto used to do so well. The teachers are still the same. Motivation levels are still the same. And lately, especially since 2022, results have not been the best. The Stanine scores are divided into 9 levels, where 1 is the highest performance and 9 is the lowest. So this is what is happening. Any child that gets from 1 to 3, they are considered the above average students. And for this, only 23% of the population of the entire people that went to write the paper can fall within 1 to 3. So irrespective of the number that is going to write for that paper, be it computing, be it Ghanaian language, only 23% of that percentage can fall within 1 to 3, or grades 1 to 3, because we have 4, then the next 7, and then the next being 12%. That will give you your 23 top percentage of students that can get 1 to 3. Then it goes on and on and on. Unfortunately, this one cannot, but I'll try and then let you have the rest. So BECE uses grades from 1, which is excellent, to 9, which is fail, which aligns with the percentile rankings, similar to a bell curve. So with the Stanine, the BECE grading system would cluster most of the students in the mid-range, and that is what we mentioned. It will cluster most of them from grades 4 to 5. So if you have really observed the trend, most of your students were falling within 4, 5, and 6. Most of the students were falling within grades 4, 5, and 6. All right, let's move on. With fewer in the highest and fewer in the lowest. Remember, we mentioned only 4% could get a 1, with the next 7% getting a 2. The other end is the same. Only 4% will get the worst grades of 9, with the next worst of 7% getting 8, and in that order. All right. In perspective, let's look at what is happening here. In perspective, overview of WAEC and BECE in Ghana. And these figures were taken from the 2024 BECE statistics. So there was a total number of 569,236 candidates, with 282,703 males, and then 286,533 females that wrote the 2024 BECE. These are the WAEC figures that were released as to the number of students that wrote it. Okay, the figure was actually higher than the year before, when the new curriculum kicked in, because most students wanted, most parents wanted their children to avoid the new curriculum that was coming in. So the last batch that wrote, the last one, had in excess of 600,000 students writing the BECE, but the number declined a bit to 569,000 writing it. So a total of, so going by the Stanine I mentioned, a total of 307,387 going by the bell curve are to fall within grades 4 to 6. We've not even added 7, 8, and 9. So even before they write a particular subject like English, that total number of 569,236, 54% of them are expected to fall within grades 4, 5, and 6. Then a total of 438,311, that would be 77% of the total figure of 563,236 students falling within grades 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. 77% will fall within 4 to 9, with a total of 130,924, that is 23% of them falling within grades 1 to 3. So that's how difficult it was to get grade 1, 2, or 3 in a particular subject. The effect of the Stanine, I don't want to bore you with that because I just wanted you to understand it, but if we can just read through, the Stanine system provides less precision compared to the percentage-based grading. Remember, we talked about the percentage-based that we were used to. If you got 90, come what may, you get your 1. If it was pegged at 80 to 100, come what may, you get a 1. But the Stanine provides less precision compared to percentage-based grading. Now is the norm referencing. At WAEC, this could mean that 2 students with very different raw scores could receive the same Stanine. What is happening currently is very unfortunate. What is happening now is that in between grades 4, even when you pick, let's say, grade 2, there could be a lot of people doing so well, but will still have to share grade 2 with others. And this could be a vast difference. Why? Because you are now being forced. By the time we go to maybe 95, we've gotten our first 4%. So those that are getting the 90, 93, and so on, 92, and the rest are still going to get a 2 in addition to, or just as those that are going to get the 80 and the rest. So that's what we are talking about. And we are saying that this could mean that 2 students with very different raw scores could receive the same Stanine, masking individual achievements or shortcomings. The broad ranges in the Stanine system might not suit students who perform at the high or low ends of the distribution, as their abilities may not be fully reflected by a single Stanine. It's quite broad if you look at it this way. The first 4%, very small, but look at from 12, grade 3, 12%, grade 4, 17%, grade 5, 20%. In perspective, my students, for instance, when we wanted to adopt the grading system, at a point where we have a population of about 70 students, if we were going to apply the Stanine system, it means in every subject, we were not going to have more than 3 students getting a 1 in each subject. That is how serious the Stanine is. If we were going to apply that 4% out of the 73 students or 72 students that we are preparing to go and write the BECE, if we are going to apply the Stanine, it means that for every subject, only a maximum of 3 students can get a 1. So that's how serious the Stanine has been. Quickly, so we don't waste time at all. Then also, in the BECE context, this could limit the ability of WAEC to distinguish between students with exceptional or very poor academic performance, especially when selecting students for elite secondary schools that require fine distinctions in achievement. Effect: the Stanine system is based on a bell curve and does not directly relate to specific academic standards or mastery of the curriculum, which can be problematic for WAEC. And this is what most of the students or schools are dealing with. Parents are breathing down on the neck of heads of schools, proprietors of schools, and teachers, that why are you not producing the results you used to produce? We are being forced in a bell curve. Students who fall into the middle Stanines, like 4, 5, and 6, might be viewed as having achieved average or adequate performance, even if they fall close to this high or low ends within these Stanines. Then this could be problematic in the BECE context, as it might fail to recognize students who are close to excelling or need additional support, impacting their progression or the kind of academic attention they receive. So in summary, this will bring us to the end. In summary, The Stanine system has potential benefits for simplifying and reducing the stress associated with grading. It has made grading quite easy. Let's identify the scores from here to here. We box all of them within this grade. The next, we box the next grade within this, which may appeal to WIAC for BECE scoring. However, its limitations in precision, curriculum alignment, and detailed assessment might make it less ideal for capturing the nuances of student performance in a way that percentage-based systems currently do. So again, some saw their results and couldn't believe it. We saw random videos of a lot of the students going to check their results and were actually weeping. Some made videos of it and were making fun of it. But yes, students didn't believe it. The Stanine itself is not bad. It doesn't make us any worse. The only problem is we needed some bit more of what? Awareness, so to speak, or education, so to speak. But I understand they've been in denial, and it took African Education Watch, I think one NGO, to probe into it and identify the trend of analysis before WIAC came in to admit that yes, the Stanine has now kicked into full gear. So the WIAC would need to weigh these factors carefully to decide if the Stanine system's benefits could enhance the BECE, or if the limitations would make it unsuitable for the depth of feedback needed in Ghana's educational assessment. There are a lot of theses people are now writing, a lot of researches people are now writing in Stanine. UCC, University of Education, Winneba, a lot of students are now doing researches into it. And the fear now is that it is now going to force lots of schools to engage in examination malpractice and so on and so forth. But that is the reality. Mr. Techi, that brings us to the end of my presentation in the Stanine.
Well, I'm speechless. I don't even know where to start from. So it's obvious that the whole thing is genetically, engineered to randomly push students to 4, 5, 6. Wow.
Yes, and like I mentioned, sometimes you don't begrudge them that much because remember I told you it got to a time whereby there was a high level of students. As I speak to you, I know of students in Form 1 that are actually registering to write the BECE. So the number has now shot up. And the fact that the available secondary school or senior high schools are not able to match up the intake, these are some of the measures they need to adopt. But the problem is we need some level of sensitization or awareness in some of these things that are being brought into the system. So these are some of the things we are being confronted with.
Thank you so much, Mr. Eugene. I think the one message that is still hitting me so hard is a teacher saying that I should have known this earlier. That is what the teacher is telling me, that I should have known this earlier. And one thing that is trending on people's WhatsApp status is that learning smart is better than learning hard. That's what the teachers are now sharing on their stats. And I think today, everyone here has taken his or her share. And one big objective, in fact, I wrote so many things that I'm taking away. But before then, I would like to introduce Prime Choice Educational Consult. We have about 71 participants, and we have schools and teachers joining us from your end. Prime Choice Educational Consult is an educational consult group that we specialize in teacher training, leadership training, recruitment services. We provide CV and interview supports, and equally school partnership. So if you are interested in having this full training, because I believe that this training is, in fact, those in Form 2 need this training, and teachers or your junior high school teachers need this engagement to know how to prepare them from Form 1, not just Form 3. We have barely a month to BECE, and these strategies, as a teacher is saying, I should have known this earlier. That means that, he's believing that more harm has been done. But it's not too late. It's not too late. We just have to pick up all these little strategies and great techniques that, he has shared for us to multiply our chances of winning. Now, I'll welcome questions in the chat room. If you have any question, please put it there. We are just taking 6 questions, then we end. We don't want to take much of your time. Already, we've taken 1 hour, 40 minutes. So we will welcome 10 questions and we will move on. However, if you need our services, I will share our WhatsApp group. You can join our WhatsApp group or go to Facebook, Instagram, and type, or even go to Google and type in Prime Choice Educational Consult. All details will come. We are everywhere. Even in August, we are going to Nigeria to provide training services. So we are trusted educational consults that you can really partner with your school to ensure progress. So go to the chat room and let me know your question. Then we'll tell our special guest to answer. Cletus is saying that WAEC need to really review the grading system. There has been various recommendations as far as 2012, but WAEC is still using this system. I want to ask Mr. Eugene if he's of the view that this grading system needs change. And that is coming from Mr. Cletus. Mr. Eugene. I think your microphone is off. Okay. Okay, I'm asking you to unmute. I'm asking you to unmute.
Okay, so I was withheld there. I couldn't unmute myself. I needed the permission from you. All right, thank you very much. It's a very interesting question. Personally, I feel it's quite unfair to the extent that if my child has done very well and it's at the upper end and has to be forced into the next, let's say, 12% of students to be given the same grade, I feel it becomes very, very, very unfortunate. And I would feel, especially in a situation where the child next door, I know my student or my child is better than, then perhaps my boy or my child gets maybe 90 and is given grade 3. Then the child next door probably got 84. And because of that percentage bracket, that child also gets grade 3 or the grade 4. I might think that all along you've done better than that child. Why did he get that same grade as you? I think it becomes very, very, very unfortunate. So personally, I feel it's not fair.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I believe that our school leaders here will understand the Stanine system so that during PT engagements, you can open up to parents so that they don't measure you by past glory and say you are not delivering. You really need to explain this to
what I've actually told my parents is that it's actually a problem of our own making, because the rate has reached a lot of students. I know of a very, very big school, Mr. Dechi, you will know, there is a very, very big school at Sakumono. I was told that it got to a time where they had to merge the Form 1s and the Form 3s and the Form 2s because they lost their Form 2s. They lost their Form 3s when they were in Form 2 to the BECE. They joined other schools to go and write the BECE. And as a result, there was a high number of students that wrote that BECE. And sometimes this is what they have to resort to sieve it. And that has become a problem. So WAEC is trying. There is now a circular to the effect that students should not be allowed to be registered when they are in Form 2. In fact, as a school leader, they've brought to me some software where we have to enter all the names of our students in Form 1 and 2 to make sure that by the next year, or when they register that very year, the system will capture them. As to whether it has been effective or not is our best guess. But the problem is, I know of students in even Form 1 that went to write the BECE. And as I speak to you, they are in the senior high school. So when we are doing this and the number is so high, for our schools to be able to contain it, they have to resort to the Stanine.
Okay, so Leslie from Zion. Uncle Leslie, yes, please, we'll share the slides with you. Just join the WhatsApp group link I've shared in the chat room. So that's where we'll share every resources. The resources he talked about, the mock, bank system that we have developed, that's where we'll share the link. So please join the WhatsApp group link I've shared in the chat room. Okay, Araba is saying that how can students overcome fear when writing BECE? And I think I have a great experience to that. Just about entering in there for the exams, a female student had a terrible encounter. How do we overcome that fear? You talked about mental health. How do we overcome that fear during BCE?
Should I answer?
Yes, please.
I think in most cases, it's about how you train. That your student going to write the exam is like a soldier on the battlefield. How have you armed that child to the teeth? If that child is going to entertain fear, anxiety, I understand. But the moment the child starts identifying or experiencing fear, then that child thinks he or she is not adequately prepared. And that's when I feel
Dr.
that.
UJ, please, can you put off your camera? I think your network is, if the camera is off, that will be too slow.
Is it better now?
Good.
Is it better
yes.
now? Yes. So
yes.
my problem is that if you are going to get soldiers to go on the battlefield, their level of confidence will be determined by how sophisticated their weapons are. I don't know if you understand me.
Yes.
If the child is adequately prepared, and I'll give you examples as to how I prepare my students. I'll give you examples. Right from Form 1, and some of these things you are aware because I prepare them. I can share with some of the school leaders. They can contact me later, how I prepare my students. Right from Form 1, teachers are tasked. Every Friday, there is a timetable to that effect. Every Friday, early in the morning before lesson starts, there are objective questions for a particular subject. So this Friday is for science. At least 40 objective questions has been set by the science teacher, and it will be administered early on Friday morning. Then by Wednesday, it is marked, and we acknowledge those students. We get them books. The first 5 or first 4 outstanding students, we give them something. That's how we start with them. So the next Friday, we move to the next subject. The other Friday, so that's how we do it. And we make sure by the time the term ends, we have roughly 15 weeks. By the time it ends, we would have had all 10 subjects covered every Friday. Then apart from that, we have the group studies. We have the various tests. We are writing about 8 mocks. As you keep on preparing that child, the child keeps on seeing the questions and they are at his fingertips because he has met them over and over and over. And you have to keep on motivating that child and then celebrate small achievements. Don't wait till the child starts getting 90 or 100 before you start praising that child. If the child is a 40% student and today that child has gotten 45%, let the people acknowledge them. That's how you build their confidence. Everyone is scared of exams, especially in terms of anxiety. But it is how you build that child up. It is the weapon you've given to that child that will make that child feel so upbeat about going to write the exam and feel so confident of him or herself. I have had situations whereby my students will enter examination room and they see other students so jittery. And the sort of questions other students are asking, sometimes the students themselves know the answer, but they are not so sure of themselves. They still need a second opinion in the exam hall. My students come out and ask, I saw some of these students asking themselves these simple questions because they are not so sure. What have they been doing in school? So please, I know you are doing your best, but how are you going that extra mile? Like I've mentioned, I am exposing them to as many more questions. Sometimes some consortiums, I pay them for them to release soft copies of these questions to me, and I quickly alert my parents. I have updated the Google form, that platform. Go and print the questions for your students to keep on solving them. And so as they are doing that, I make sure that for Saturday classes, everything is aligned to the written. Remember, I mentioned on Fridays is about objective tests. Every Saturday, as part of the Saturday classes, we turn our focus and our attention to the written, where the teacher comes and puts about 1 or 2, 3 written questions on the board and make sure every student attempts it. And the teacher has to mark, review, and get back to the students instantly within the period of 1 hour, 30 minutes. And all these things have been helping. So you build them up, you allow peer tutoring, let the students teach themselves at a point, not in the examination, of course. Pick a subject, call a student, stand in front of the class, teach your group, teach them this, and open up to the curriculum. We know how it is. Give them some multimedia resource. Let them watch videos. Let them ask questions. By it's nature. It's BECE. It's their first major exam. They will be a bit jittery. They will be a bit scared and so on and so. But sometimes they come back after the first reply and they come and ask you, did I just write BECE or I wrote class test? Because they've encountered far more difficult questions and they've been given lots of likewise environments where they've answered similar questions. So yes, they may entertain fear. That could be anxiety, but for fear, they should be able to conquer it. And you should be able to help.
Wow.
Yeah, you should be able to help prepare that child very well for the battle ahead. Like I mentioned, it's the level of ammunition that you've given to that child before that child will beat his chest and say, I'm going to make the ones for you.
Wow, thank you so much. I have so many questions coming, so I'll read them. Then if the response can be quite short. So
I'll try and make it snappy, yes, so we don't waste a lot of time.
Yes. All right, so we have Emmanuel. Valeria is saying, what happens to people moving from private school to join public school because they think that the public schools are being favored?
There was a quota, the 30% quota to public schools, and this is in the public domain, so we know. It is a very, very, very unfortunate situation. But luckily, I have personally had the opportunity of speaking with the president of NACOPS, right? Ghana National Association of Private School Teachers, the president himself. You know, last year, he made lots of noise about it. He granted lots of interviews and at a point even wanted to sue the government for giving that quota because it was so unfair to private school students, whereby the public schools were given a 30% quota. But I've spoken to him a few months ago, and he has personally assured me that they've gone for some stakeholders meetings and that thing is now going to be nipped in the bud. And it's very unfortunate. And it was something that made private schools very handicapped. I belong to some platforms of private school proprietors and heads, and I can send you voice notes and hundreds of chats, which rendered them so frustrated. Some ended up mentioning that they were going to even turn their schools into guest houses because the government just wants to render them incapacitated. It was a very, very unfortunate situation. But I guess these are all some of the things that came into the fray, which ended up, you know, with people, because we cannot ignore the fact that it played a part in making the past government quite unpopular. It was very unfortunate to have been giving them those quotas, which forced a lot of, we had instances, last 2 years, I had instances whereby close to about 15 of my students had to go and register in public schools. And they were misled into that. I know of a student who could not get her school of choice, simply because she went to write in a public school. And some way, somehow, the 30% quota still did not favor her. And this was a child, by the time she left our school to go and write with them for almost a whole term, whenever she answered their mock questions, it was used as a model because she followed the rubrics. We had properly trained her and was misled into thinking that when I go to the public, oh, we are going to be given the quota, I can get the school. And she actually chose Wesley Girls and still didn't get it. Because in Ghana, it goes beyond that quota, and you know what I'm talking about. And that girl had to defer for a whole year, and it was very, very, very unfortunate. But luckily, when the parents mentioned that and I advised them against it and they insisted, I asked them to put everything on paper. So there wasn't anything they could do again. And all students who performed even worse than she was were able to get their schools. So it's about the performance of the schools. Yes, it's unfortunate that has come into the fray, and it was really working and helping. There were a lot of public school students we know didn't do so well, still got their best of schools. That is normal. But by and large, hopefully, going by the words of Mr. Jato, I told you I spoke to him, the NACOPS man. he has assured us that that thing has been reversed and everything is going to be fine. So I think that's my answer to that. So we don't waste much time.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Eugene. Thank you so much. It's almost 2 hours, so we have to bring the whole session to an end. As I said earlier, Prime Consult is available to engage your schools anytime you want us to visit to have this session with your teachers and even with students, how to prepare or how to, share that mindset for them to get ready for BEC. We are always available. I've shared the WhatsApp group link there. Please join the WhatsApp group link. That is where we will share all the resources of this training in there. I've opened the chat room. The meeting has come to an end. I want you to say something wonderful to our guests for having the time this evening, leaving the children and the wife to spend 2 hours with us just to inspire and empower us. So please go to the chat room, say something wonderful in the chat room, and that this is the end of our meeting. If after saying something you can exit, please do. We've come to the end of our meeting. So just go to the chat room, say something wonderful. Let me see. I think I'm the only one who can see the messages.
Yeah, I think the chats, I think for the chat room, you are the only one seeing the messages. So if you could make it everyone. Yeah.
I've changed it to everyone, but I don't know why it's still so.
Okay, I think it's getting better. I've seen that from someone.
Okay, good. So thank you so much from Cletus, Florence. It's God bless you. Looking forward. Sebastian is saying that we are grateful and we are available for teacher training and recruitment. We equally recruit for schools. So if you want to change job, if you want us to review your CV, we are available. If you want us to provide an interview warm-up, if you are lucky to be in a class A school that you are changing job, you want us to, provide some interview warm-up, we are available. We provide teacher training to teachers. School is reopening. We are available. Can your hands up? If you can unmute, please, you can. Or go to the chat room and you can put down your question. You can contact us. We are available to provide a comprehensive training to your teachers before school reopen. We are available to share the 21st century skills that are available. We have our differentiation specialist. We have our preschool specialist. Every department in your basic school, we have someone who can engage them. And if you want a monitoring and evaluation session, you're a school leader, you don't understand what is happening, you want to get the true state of your school. You want us to evaluate and give you a direct feedback about how things are working in your school. We are available to engage, come to your school. If it's 2 days or 3 days or a day, we'll provide that comprehensive monitoring and give you feedback for you to know the real status of your practices, your academic, everything. We are ready to provide you that standard. Also, if you want us to partner with us as a school, we are equally available. We have our partnership package where we'll visit your school depending on the number of days you want us to visit you in a month. We'll visit you, be more or less an external supervisor, provide support, not on a witch hunting exercise. Provide support to teachers, encourage them, give training, identify their needs, provide the necessary support, and you see the miracle that will happen in your school. As I said, you can check us on Instagram, Facebook, even on Google. Just enter Prime Choice Educational Consult. Yes. So I'm still sharing the WhatsApp group. You can join the WhatsApp group where yes, please, you can exit the meeting. The meeting has ended. We still have 50 participants still waiting. Mr. Eugene has to go and see the families. So the meeting has ended. So just say something wonderful to him before you exit. That is why we are still keeping you here. Say something wonderful before you exit. That is, so if you have any question, join the WhatsApp group. You can DM me. My name is Techi Michael. You can check me out on all social media platforms. Get in touch. Then let's talk about your school. Let's really, really talk about your school. All right, so Mr. Eugene, on that note, God bless you so much. I think I have to end the meeting and I'll give you a call after this. The WhatsApp group is blocked. It's not locked. Just send invitation. And Benjamin, you're already in the group. I know you're already in the group, but it's not blocked. just enter. I will just approve your request. Yes, I have about